Yeah.
Well, good morning. My name is Howard Harris, obviously from Clean Energy Fuels. We're elated that you all have invited us in here for an interview. We're certainly very grateful to be able to discuss the compressed natural gas fueling project on the private station for the CNG transit buses, as well as the public access station and the facility modifications. With that being said, I did want to introduce the group. Once again, I'm Howard Harris, Regional Manager for Clean Energy for the state of Florida.
I'm Mark Riley. I'm the Vice President for Canada and the Eastern United States for Clean Energy. I'm responsible for our sales and marketing efforts in that region.
I'm Chuck Nelson with Clean Energy, Manager of Technical Sales and Senior Station Designer. I'm responsible for designing and configuring solutions for our CNG projects across the country.
Rick Mendoza, I'm the Director of the Facility Modifications Department. We do facility modifications to bring them to code compliance across the nation and in Canada.
I'm Alex Sanchez. I'm Vice President of Cherokee Enterprises. We're going to be responsible for the construction of the fueling stations as well as the parking lot and demolition of the admin building.
Brooks McAllister. I'm the Southeast Regional Director for Operations. What that means is I take care of all the stations and all the technicians that do that work for me.
If you don't mind, I'll go to the...
If I could stop for a moment, I've stopped the time clock.
Yeah.
If we could have everyone that's evaluating, as well as everyone else that's present, introduce themselves so we can capture it. My name is Deanna Castro-Diaz. I'm a procurement specialist. And Hamid, if you could begin.
Sure. Hamid Tabassian, JTA Project Manager. Brad Thurber, Vice President of Long Range Planning and System Development.
Henry Lee, Vice President of Finance and Administration, CFO.
Randy Brewer, Senior Manager of Maintenance.
Lisa Darnell, Vice President, Transit Operations.
Pat Stevens, I'm a retired transit professional.
Tom McVeigh with RSNH, Technical Advisor to JTA.
Robert Alford, Rodney Cassell, I'm outside legal counsel to JTA.
Teresa Lind, Contracts Management Officer, JTA.
Bill Mosley, Director of Legal Services, JTA. Colin Malloy, Chief of Safety and Security, JTA.
Robert Raymond, Safety and Emergency Officer, JTA.
I'm Lowell Clary with Clary Consulting. We're financial advisor on the project.
Gary Porter, Porter Management Consulting, a son of RSNH.
I'm Lucas Clary with Clary Consulting.
Thank you. You have 28 minutes.
Is it better for us to use the mic up there at the podium? Because we also have to control the presentation up there.
That's
Four
fine.
people have not introduced themselves.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
How does that sound? Okay. So, to kick off the meeting, I kind of wanted to set the tone, giving an overview. I think what we'll do is we'll start by obviously giving an overview of the natural gas in the transit industry. Demonstrate Clean Energy's significant role within the transit industry. Outline critical requirements of a CNG fueling partner for JTA. Demonstrate CE's qualifications and financial capacity, including bonding and insurance capacity, to be JTA's partner. Outline CE's approach for JTA's transit station, public access, and facility modifications. How we plan to exceed JTA's DBE goal, and conclude in question and answer. As stated before, I am the regional manager for Florida. However, my previous life was actually being the head of our transit for the East Coast. And so I'm very, very well versed in transit over the years. And just to kind of bring you up to speed on exactly where CNG and the transit sector came over time, active statistics show now that since in 2013, 20% of the U.S. transit buses use natural gas, liquefied natural gas, or some type of blend. So 1 in 5 transit buses on the road are actually utilizing this fuel. About 11,000 buses across America, across the country, and about 35% of the new transit bus orders are actually natural gas. The beauty of it is now all the major U.S. manufacturers of the buses are now providing a CNG option. And there's actually agencies that are now approaching, if not at 100%, including LA Metro, Nice Bus, and DART. Florida's first major transition to CNG was Hillsborough Area Regional Transit. They opened their station in April of 2014 and are now fueling approximately 28 vans, and we'll see their CNG buses come to the property in early 2015. We were fortunate enough to win that project. A little bit about clean energy, aka CE, in regards to how I put it in some of these slides. We've actually been fueling transit buses since 1997. This is not old hat to us whatsoever. Today, CE fuels over 7,300 buses per day, including DART, Nice Bus, LA Metro. That's about 66% of the total amount of natural gas buses that are on the road. We are the nation's leader in providing DBOM, design, build, operations, and maintenance services for transit and other transportation sectors. Also, as we've looked at the industry evolve over the years, we've recognized that certainly for compliant repair facilities, it's necessary if you want to transition to CNG. So we've actually opened up and started our own business model, Facility Modifications Group, back in 2012. One of the lead stories that kind of show the full circle going from start to finish with CNG, and obviously one of the agencies that went 100% natural gas and committed to going 100% natural gas is DART. I'd like to be able to kind of come back to this slide at the end, if possible, to kind of show somewhat of a clip, so you guys actually have a visual. But it's certainly a great story talking about kind of going from start to finish with CNG. Now, as we looked at JTA's proposal, we noticed obviously that there are some significant transition goals. Obviously, JTA is committed to serving the economy, environment, quality of life for their constituents. And so with that being said, we kind of picked out a few things of priority to JTA that we thought. Fuel savings, environmental impact, certainly DBE participation, and then with the public access station, obviously we'd like to take a look at the third-party revenue. In looking at a qualified partner, I think JTA wants to take a look at a couple of things. Whenever you're talking about having transit buses that have to get out on the road daily and cannot miss rollout, you want to do business with a company that provides proven experience for similar services for other transit agencies. You want to have a company that has experience with design, build, and operation of transit facilities, as well as the building modifications of the repair facilities. Proven understanding of technical and economic requirements of a CNG fuel partnership, and proven operational capability with similar transit CNG fueling projects. Once again, in transit operation, we understand that priority number one is to meet daily rollout. You want to have fast, efficient fueling. And in the case particularly of Florida, we want to be able to show our experience and have experience in emergency response due to extreme weather, power outages, and equipment failure. Additionally, especially with having a public access station where you're getting third-party revenue, you want to be able to work with a firm that has proven ability to market and sell to CNG third-party fleets. And lastly, maybe most importantly, the financial capacity to truly carry out the project. As you can see, the qualifications are right in front of you. CE has performed 22 design, build, operations, and maintenance projects for transit agencies across America. Now, those projects are out of the group of 50 agencies in which we service in some sort of capacity, certainly on the maintenance side, operations and maintenance side. We've also modified 6 transit facilities, as well as 18 other facilities outside of the transit sector. CE has their own internal station design, engineering, construction management, and QA, QC startup team internally. CE has in-house trained service technicians that employ our state-of-the-art prophecy maintenance management system. So with that being said, there's no need to have to get outside contractors to do your maintenance. These guys are under our control 100% of the time. Our sales and marketing team has extensive experience in expanding the use of CNG at third-party stations. And by choosing CE, the JTA public access station will be in addition to CE's extensive network of public access natural gas fueling stations. Some of you may have heard of America's Natural Gas Highway, where we're building out the infrastructure across America. This public access station would then become part of that. Clean energy has been selected by dozens of municipalities, state governments, and major corporations to provide CNG fueling service and facility modifications based on our experience and our qualifications. A couple of CE transit and public access examples. As we said, we are the nation's leader, and pretty much any way we need to skin the cat, we will. As you can see, we have numerous types of stations whether it be public access or fast fill or public access or private access or a combination thereof. And it's all about obviously getting the public to utilize a cleaner fuel, and we provide as many ways possible to get them there. Financial ability. I have to say it's one of the big ones. If you're going to come to the table and talk about being able to see a job all the way through, you certainly have to have the financial capacity to do so. Clean Energy is publicly traded on NASDAQ. It follows CLNE with near $1 billion market cap. Currently, we approximately have about $289.1 million in cash reserves. We're KPMG audited. We've never been denied a bond on any project and do not anticipate any issues or delays in bonding JTA's project at all. And CE Finance, a business unit of CE, is licensed to provide vehicle leasing and financing programs. I'd like to call up Chuck Nelson, one of our heads of engineering, to discuss a little more about our technical approach and how we'd like to take a look at JTA's station a little bit further.
The construction team reviewed the requirements of JTA, and we put extensive time into looking at what's the best solution for JTA's operation and meets the needs of the facility. In this design here, we looked at both the option 1 location and option 2 location, and we took several things into consideration. Some of the first things is there was an extensive amount of utility relocation in the first location. We found that in option 2, which we have chosen, we felt that that would be the best, not only in the location of the utilities due to scheduling, but also overall impact on the project in the cost side of it. We also looked at, we understand that it's very important to you that every inch of space is important for parking and other parts of your operation. And we found that option 2 utilized the most parking area for JTA and benefited the most in land use. So with that into consideration, then we went into, all right, what's going to have the least amount of impact on JTA's overall operation when we're doing the construction. And we looked at, by doing this in option 2, a couple of things. It's going to reduce the traffic areas and impact. We looked at the overhead fueling and the infrastructure as far as in the fueling area. We could do underground trenching that, but we concluded the best way to have the least interruption in your fueling area while we're doing this infrastructure was to go ahead and go in with overhead fueling lines in the fueling area and utilize also some of your existing infrastructure there, which will benefit in the least amount of time that we have to be disruptive in that area. When it came to looking at the whole construction and demo part of the project, we looked at a lot of things to consider. How can we do the demo, recycle materials, and include this as what we would consider another step towards a green project? So when we're demoing the building, we're separating the materials, we're recycling what we can, we're going to take as much of that material, we'll crush that material, bring it back in, and actually use it as some of our sub-base material on the project. And that's a whole effort that we use as not only is natural gas a clean part of the project, but the overall construction, we take that into consideration, which is important, we feel is important for JTA's image in the community as providing a green solution from start to finish. As we move along here, the next thing that we really got into and took great consideration in is what's the best fueling solution for you? So not only did we look at the demo and the site construction, but we also looked at what's the best compression for you. Compression is the heartbeat of your operation. That's the part that really ensures that you're meeting rollout every day, providing that fuel. And so we looked at a lot of different opportunities of different compression, and we settled on the IMW compressor package, which we feel is the best solution in JTA's mind for ensuring that we don't have oil contaminants in the gas stream, which has impact on the maintenance of the buses. We looked at flow capacity. The requirements in the spec asked for 100 buses to be fueled in 6 hours. We exceeded that by providing 3 compressors for the transit side of the fueling that will actually do it in less than 5.5 hours, which then gives us full redundancy there with a backup compressor that can help utilize the site. The dryer, another consideration, we actually sized that dryer to be 10% over capacity. Well, what does that mean? Over capacity of 10% actually makes it a more efficient dryer, more reliable in its operation itself, and provides longer term reliability of the dryer solution. Buffer, we looked at, we feel that the 3 vessels which the RFP required was adequate and was what we typically will use on similar sized transit facilities as the JTA. And when it comes to the valve panel, we've got the heart as the compressor. The valve panel is really your arm. It's what really controls and ensures that you're going to get efficient, rapid fills. And we use the Clean Energy state-of-the-art fueling panel, which optimizes your fueling by controlling simultaneous fueling of the buses, utilizing the buffer storage and compression available to ensure that you're meeting the most efficient fill times, as well as the consideration that there's also going to be public fueling going on during this operation. And we ensure that we're not, the number one key here is that the transit buses meet rollout and get the dedicated fuel. But we need to take care of the public as well. And that panel controls that and ensures that we're not robbing from one fuel of the transit and affecting the flow there, but also ensures that we get good flow to our public customers as well. As we go down through here, after the valve panel, you'll see that on the dispensing, we designed 3 high-flow transit dispensers with 2 hoses, one for your transit buses as well as the other for your fleet vehicles. This system will monitor the flow. We're able to track fuel usage. There's some things that we can do in that dispenser to provide additional maintenance and understanding of the fleet of the vehicles through your fuel management system. We also, from those dispensers, also came up with what we felt was the best solution is to put all the infrastructure in for the public fueling and then take the public fueling side of it and put 1 2-hose dispenser in to start with. This seems to be the most economical and most practical approach that we take, and it gives your public fueling a very good experience. We have found that it's not build it and they will come have this massive infrastructure and tomorrow there's 100 CNG vehicles at the facility. That's just not reality. We know this because we do it across the country, and we found that the best approach is to build in phases as the business grows and ensure that those customers that initially are there have an excellent experience just like the later. So as we see the flow build, it's very easy for us to add that additional fueling capacity on the public side and grow that as needed. The defueling, we intend to provide an efficient defueling panel for the buses. We show a layout by the compound, but in reality, we'll work with the JTA staff, maintenance staff, and conclude where's going to be the best location for that with having the least amount of traffic impact and allow to be able to get a defueled bus into the maintenance facility. On the Backup power, which Howard had touched on earlier, we take it very serious with hurricanes and weather, that it's important to have 100% backup on your facility and ensure that you see no power loss or downtime. So we actually selected a 2 megawatt generator. This is larger than what the actual requirements of the spec would require, but we didn't want to only make sure that we can take care of our equipment and the basic demands that were spelled out in the RFP, but also give us some additional capacity if needed as the site grows. You may find that initially the need for power in the fueling area may change. We have the ability to expand that without having to change the backup generation that we've supplied. I think at this point, we'll turn it back over to Howard and discuss our fleet, third-party fleet.
Yeah, obviously, kind of to come back to what we were talking about in regards to our third-party fleets, we do it all across the country. And by doing all across the country, we've been able to establish some significant relationships with companies like AT&T and Verizon. Obviously, those are companies that we would certainly be reaching out to in addition to local utility and companies around the area to utilize your third-party station. The ease of it is, the ease of moving to a third-party station from clean energy perspective is that we have a clean energy fuel card. So with that card, you sign up and now all of a sudden, you can utilize that card throughout our whole network. It also manages all accounting and issues of that nature to keep everything much more consolidated and simple. With that being said, we'll go to our facility modification approach. Rick Mendoza, thank you.
You have about 9 minutes.
9 minutes. Thank you, Howard, and it's a pleasure being here this morning, and thank you again for allowing us to provide you with our solutions. The facility modification group looks at 3 primary processes. This is kind of the fundamentals of the code requirements, that there is confusion out there in the industry. They're not really sure. There's a lot of different avenues that people go through. But with our experience in our dedicated department, we've came to the solution as a 3-tier process. Simple things: detection, dilution, and extraction. Those are the 3 primary processes that you have for facility modifications. And the way we attack those are specifically for each individual transit agency. Each individual transit agency, as you know, their facilities are different. So we have to look at each one and come up with a cost-conscious economical means to meet these 3 requirements. Specifically, JTA, who has rather large facilities, this is a significant cost impact if it's not done properly. The code-compliant facility obviously is our goal. So we put together a team that is important, that is knowledgeable on the facility modifications. So I'm the director of facility modification services. I oversee day-to-day operations of engineering staff, maintenance staff on our modifications, and also for this particular project, we've put together 2 key members. You've got C&J Technologies, who we've worked for with several facilities across the nation and in Canada, that we're working with them. They're integrated to the overall process. They're knowledgeable. They work in conjunction with our knowledge, which brings you a cost-effective solution for your project. We've also brought in S.L. Grisham, which is a local contractor. We did a significant search out here, and we found that they're very qualified to be as a partner with us in this project. So we brought them in as a significant contributor and contractor for the construction within the building modifications. The modification services itself, Clean Energy realizes, as Howard touched at the very beginning, they realized in the industry as a whole, there was misinformation out there, misinterpretation. So Clean Energy actually developed a dedicated department, which I'm the director of. We have a dedicated department that's all we focus on. You're not getting a part-time solution. You're getting a dedicated solution for your facility and facilities across the nation. We're doing this 24/7, coming up with, working with vendors, working with contractors, working with engineers to ensure we give you a cost-effective solution with a dedicated department. South have 15 plus years in alternative fuels, not only facility modifications, but also building CNG stations, building LNG stations, and also building hydrogen stations.
all of them having components of the gas detection system. So you're bringing a tremendous amount of experienced staff to your facility to assist you with it. So we also do cost-effective solutions. And really, an engineer can come in and say, okay, I'm going to read the code and I'm going to apply these codes to your building. However, if you don't look at it and understand and completely interpret the codes and understand how it applies to each unique facility, your cost-effective solution is going to really be inadequate. So we bring in the knowledge, the experience, and say, okay, we're going to look at your facility, we're going to look at every square foot of your facility, we're going to come in every location and decide in every location how do we handle that. And it's important that you understand that. Our customer operation, we understand that during the process of actually doing the facility modifications, construction aspect of it, that you're not going to shut down your operations. You're not going to allow us to move in there for 24/7 and construct. We're going to go in there and work with you on a weekly basis and say, okay, what do we need? Where can we work this weekend? It's what we've learned as we build these throughout the transit agencies is that it's a cooperation with the local site supervisors and site service technicians and managers. But we have to come in there, we have to work with it. We have to decide how can we help you, how can you help us, such that we do not impact your operations. You know, the most important thing obviously is rollout. So that's what we're here, not to get in your way, but provide you with a cost-effective solution, and it's less impact on your
You have
existing
5 minutes.
operations.
5 minutes.
So I guess I better wrap this up. Okay, Howard, I'm sure there's a little Q&A at the end of this if you have any questions.
I think ultimately the goal is obviously a compliant facility, so that's the goal for all these facility modifications projects. With that being said, one glaring factor in the RFP was obviously the DBE goal on this project. 25% is quite aggressive. However, we've seen it over the years in the transit industry grow incrementally. From the 5% to 6% goals, now to quite honestly a mind-blowing goal of 25%. And we took it very, very seriously. And with that being said, we proactively actually reached out to all the JTA certified DBE contractors and invited them out to a DBE mixer, just a meet and greet. Very informal, but just get a chance to actually meet with the local community, the local workers out here to find out who will participate on this project. With that being said, we were able to find a couple of really strong partners, CEI, Cherokee Enterprise Incorporated, as well as SL Gresham being 2 of them. And as we currently stand, we're moving at a 35% clip over the goal. CEI, as I said before, will provide on-site construction services, provide construction supervision interface with the CE staff, and SL Gresham will perform all the building modifications for the interior work. So to kind of wrap it up, I think Clean Energy is certainly your partner for the future. I believe we've demonstrated our technical understanding of JTA's project. I believe we demonstrated that we have the necessary experience and qualifications to successfully complete your project. I believe we demonstrated that we possess the financial strength and operational capabilities to support JTA's operation for the long term. And finally, as we looked at the bus finance piece and the opportunity to be able to finance 25 of your buses over the next 5 years, CE is able to finance those buses that were specified. However, one thing we would like to do as we kind of conclude is get a better understanding of JTA's objectives so that we can better serve and put together something that makes sense and that we can certainly explain through and you can understand financially. With that being said, we'd like to thank you all for your time. We'd like to thank you all for your opportunity, and we look forward to working with JTA in the future. Thank you very much.
Do we have time for 2 minutes?
Yes.
Do the video, please.
2 minutes, I'll touch on this video for Dart. Perfect time.
We produced this with DART just a couple weeks ago. It was just released, and it's a great video. It shows our capabilities.
About energy and saving energy. That's what we do at Clean Energy. We design and build natural gas fuel stations all over the country.
And we had an opportunity when DART was replacing their buses to help them transition to a cleaner fuel.
Natural gas is being taken as a serious transportation fuel. The main reason that's happened is because of price.
When DART buys diesel fuel, those revenues leave the region, where compressed natural gas is actually produced within the region.
The public-private partnership of DART and clean energy is saving millions of dollars for the city of Dallas.
There are a lot of benefits to working with clean energy. The engines are quieter, the exhaust is cleaner.
These buses are truly different, they're state-of-the-art, and the drivers like it because when they get off work, they're not smelling like diesel.
The new buses have been a long time coming, and the passengers just love them.
Well, the new buses are great. They're nice and clean, they're comfortable, environmentally friendly.
I ride the bus pretty often, and I seen the changes. I think it's pretty good for the city.
We are at a tipping point now where we're going to move to natural gas and we're going to move away from diesel. Diesel's dirty fuel.
We want to make sure that we help reduce our carbon footprint.
The decision DART has made to commit their bus fleet to compressed natural gas instead of diesel. It's a very big decision, very significant, and one that I think DART has to be given a lot of credit for.
Dallas is a great city, and what makes it great is the spirit that it brings to every problem. There's nothing that Dallas people can't overcome and achieve.
I just want to finish by saying that obviously that is about Dallas, but just imagine Jacksonville in the same sort of vein here. I mean, you are an innovative city. You have a great opportunity to implement compressed natural gas in your bus fleet. It will benefit not only your operation at JTA, but also the local community. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you today.
We can proceed with questions.
Several of the committee members will probably ask questions individually, but I'll get started with one question, and that is, please describe your proposed fuel management system, including its compatibility with JTA's existing gas buoy system.
The fuel management system that we use, the dispensers are designed to actually communicate with the existing gas buoy system. So we will be able to communicate all the data and the protocol required for gas buoy. And we do this at other facilities as well with gas buoy, so it's something we're very familiar with and works well. Our fuel system that we'll use on the public side will be a auto gas system that allows us to accept our clean energy fleet cards and do additional tracking and reporting for credit card billing and finance side of the fueling. But as far as the programming, that will be designed into the dispensers to be able to communicate with your gas buoy.
Okay, thank you.
If I might, the auto gas will also take all major credit cards and all the major fleet cards as well. And it's very easy, very reliable system. We've had no problems with it, at least in Southeast.
Sure. How will you meet JTA's O&M requirements for CNG infrastructure for the full term of the 15-year agreement, as well as its O&M requirements for facility modifications, O&M for the one-year term specified in the RFP?
Before Brooks jumps in terms of how he's technically handled this, Clean Energy's been in the business of providing operation maintenance services for CNG facilities for 17 years. And for transit agencies, we've been providing O&M services since 1997. And we recognize the importance of having true reliability of the facility itself, whether it be the CNG station or as well as the resulting of the garage modifications. So we have over the years focused on employing, having employed CE technicians that are trained not only at the various schools that are from the manufacturers that we utilize, but but we provide ongoing training services for those staff. In terms of the length of the term, you select clean energy. You are benefiting from our longevity and our intention for substantially longer-term operations. So we got that covered. But Brooks, why don't you talk about the technical approach?
Okay, there are really three components here that require maintenance. First is the compressor and the fueling system. We do that from the inlet all the way to the nozzle tip, to include the dispenser and all that. We'll probably have a dedicated technician for JTA to do that sort of stuff with. The second component is your megawatt generator. My guys are not generator techs, especially for something that big. What we usually do is I'll just find out who the local OEM is, the dealer, if you will, and we'll let a contract with them to come out and do the routine maintenance and then any repairs that need to be done. The third component of any CNG bus garage is really your methane detection system and the associated ventilation. I'm a believer in the fact that those systems need to be certified every 6 months. So I'll find somebody. I've got a couple of guys over in Tampa already, but I'll find somebody that will come in and do a complete certification. Now, my techs will be qualified to change the methane head and zero it and do minor adjustments and this and the other to the system, clear the faults, whatever. But every 6 months we'll have a system certification by somebody from the designated OEM who's licensed and all that kind of stuff.
Say, Brooks, also your support staff in Florida alone?
I've got, right now I have 2 techs on the East Coast here, based Orlando, Daytona area. I've got 2 technicians in Orlando. I have a technician in Valdosta, which is about 83 miles away, that takes care of the LNG station we have here. I'm getting ready to hire another tech for the Tampa area. And then I have, the nearest guys I have are 4 additional technicians in Atlanta that I deploy when required to Tennessee, Florida, wherever.
But our intention is to hire dedicated technicians for this particular project. So they would be in addition to the service team that Brooks described.
We talked about technical perspective. Who is responsible for the O&M expenses for equipment after the manufacturer's warranty expires? A couple of years, the warranty will expire.
Well, if it's an O&M contract, we provide the parts, the labor, the support equipment, whatever. It's cradle to grave, if you will. If we don't do it right, then it costs us more, and I get unhappy with my techs. But from step one to step finish, we provide everything.
This is the true benefit of a DBOM. I mean, a design, build, operate, maintain contract. By us being responsible for designing the facility, building it, and then obviously then taking on the financial risk related to the ongoing operation and maintenance, we're going to make sure that we design it right. We're going to make sure that we build it right. And then ongoing, for us to also hopefully make some money, we've got to make sure we operate it correctly and make sure that we achieve your goals of meeting rollout and achieving the fueling during the periods that you've identified, but also do so in maintain it in an efficient manner. So as part of the operation and maintenance contract, Clean Energy would take responsibility for those ongoing costs.
100%.
100%. From the inlet of the or where it comes out of the TECO pipeline to the point where it goes into your buses.
talk a little bit about the advantage that you, of the approach that you took in your proposal for a 10-year term for the O&M for the building as opposed to the 1 year as was required in the RFP?
On the building modifications?
Yes.
On the building modification, we understand that, and again, I hate to reiterate, but there's a lack of understanding out in the industry about how important the building modification is. When we walk away and walk away from our design, we want to make sure that you understand that the code requires that you've got, let's take a look at the station. You have backup generation at the station. Why? So you can fuel during any power losses. We also have designed in our building modification backup generation. Why? Because if you lose your gas detection system and your ventilation and your components of the building mod, you can no longer do maintenance. So the whole concept there is rollout. So that leads back into the overall OEM. We want to make sure that on a biannual basis that we're going in there and we're providing the system overall testing on a biannual basis, and to make sure as we're watching over the station, we're also watching over the building mod, because we don't want it forgotten, because it is an important concept, an important component of your overall rollout.
We've had experience where that component of the building modifications was let go. It wasn't necessarily a part of our O&M responsibilities, but then ultimately it became a very critical issue for those transit agencies because they were not keeping up with that service. So our recommendation is that, if we're going to be out there providing service for the fueling station, why not continue on having us watch over the design of the building modifications as well.
And that's a particularly important point, because all it takes is one fire marshal visit, and everything doesn't work, and you're shut down. And believe me, once the fire marshal comes to visit you and shuts you down or makes a comment, I can tell you from personal experience, it's not fun, and it takes a while to get them back on your side. So we think that rather than letting facilities maintenance guys, nothing wrong with facilities maintenance guys, but do it, or whomever, it just ensures your continuity of operations if we do the long-term certifications and that sort of thing.
Well, the next question is, if you would please describe your plan for coordination with TECO for providing the gas service, and have you confirmed that TECO can supply the minimum gas pressure required by your proposed design?
Yes, we've worked with TECO extensively on this, went through the gas flow requirements, and have also concluded that they can meet the 125 PSI requirement that we need. And when we worked with them, that also had to do with when we were looking at location of the pipeline and best location for the facility. That was part of the consideration of that would be the best location to bring that service into and guarantee that we're going to have the flow requirements that we need. So, and we figured that on the complete, including the redundant compressor operating. So we looked at full capacity, not just the operating capacity.
This past year, we built 60 CNG fueling stations across the country, and we've got a great deal of experience working with the local utilities. I mean, you can't have a CNG fueling station without natural gas supply, and 9 out of 10 times you've got to tie into the local distribution network and work with companies like TECO. So it's that is important to have that capability and experience, and we believe we can certainly take care of it here too.
We also have a utilities group now at Clean Energy who purchases. We own a lot of stations across the country, and it's important to us in our bottom line to get the cheapest gas and the cheapest electric deals we can. So we have, and from prior experience, I can tell you that if you just go out and buy gas, you're not going to get the cheapest gas deal around. So we have a utilities group, I'll call them, that can assist in helping everything from your meter set rates to your electric rates to whatever else is needed with gas and electricity to run the stations, and that's just a little plus there.
Yeah, we found in utilizing this group that you can lower your overall operating expenses and fuel costs by a tremendous amount, specifically in TECO territory. By making some modifications in terms of which tariff we were on at our Tampa airport station, we actually lowered our cost of gas by 40 cents a gallon.
$10,000 a month, cheaper.
I have one more question. With a 15-year O&M contract, is it your belief that the facility, the infrastructure lasts 15 years? Or do you often find you have to replace some of the components throughout that 15 years?
Well, I would say that in general, compression and the main components of the facility are more than 15-year equipment. Dispensing technology has evolved tremendously over the years, and that could be an area where there might be need to upgrade or replace over time. IMW, our compressor manufacturer, has compressors that operate around the world that have been in service for 30 years.
I have a station at UPS in Atlanta on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. The initial 2 compressors were installed in 1994, and they are still fueling every day, all day. If you were going to do any upgrades, like Mark said, it would probably be in one of 2 areas. One is the dispensers, because the technology, even in the 4 years I've been with Clean Energy, has changed significantly. The other thing that may require upgrades in the future would be your PLCs, your program logic controllers. The only problem I have with UPS is UPS won't upgrade them, and they are running on Windows 98, which you might understand is no longer supported anywhere. But those would be the only 2 areas that you'd probably need upgrade. At a former transit agency I used to work for, the first set of compressors are 18 years old, and they still run just fine. They have had a PLC upgrade and that, but other than that, the compressors will last 25, 30 years easily.
Well, and I think the key to that too is the whole O&M part of it is, out of my 20 years in the CNG industry, it's operating and maintaining them properly. And there is equipment out there that's not maintained properly, and it doesn't last. So you'll hear stories out there of stuff that does need replaced, but that's a reason why we strongly feel that our O&M package is the way to go, because of the way our personnel are trained. It's an important part of keeping the longevity of that. And it's no different than your house, your car. CNG equipment, it's a mechanical device. The better you take care of it and stay on preventative maintenance, the longer the life you're going to have, and the more efficient it's going to operate.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I wanted to just talk a little bit about the project schedule. We have a pretty, we got a pretty well set schedule and with timelines that need to be met. So I want to get your sense of ability to meet timelines and any concerns you might have over that.
So we looked at your timelines. We feel that there's some areas that we may be able to improve in. We took into consideration working with our construction group, looking at, for example, the location of where we went with the equipment. We felt that helped our schedule significantly in the demo and some things that can go on at the same time of operation. We feel that it's an achievable schedule, and we feel that there's a few major milestones that we want to focus on, that if we can improve on those milestones, some of that gets into permitting and environmental parts of the study, that we can actually improve that schedule from where we're at.
One of the items we think is really important to consider, JTA, is allowing us to install the underground underground lines and electrical to the public access dispensing area. Allow us to also do some of the footings for the canopy and that kind of thing. And the reason is, when you're looking at it from a permitting authority perspective, when they come in and they do the mechanical inspection and sign off on the compressor to the bus fueling area, they're going to look at the plans, the original plans, and say, well, you didn't complete this side. You know, these lines underground are not in place. And our concern is it will cause you to have to do one of two things. One is you may have to separate the construction into phases in terms of how you permit it, or you're going to have the person that is going to be doing the inspections and so on truly has to understand the scope and how the project is going to be carrying out. Our concern is that in some authorities have a jurisdiction, it could result in them either denying the inspection or causing further delay. So that's a consideration, I think, to look at.
And if I could just add one component, an important component of the project is the design aspect of it. Having experienced staff doing the design for the natural gas station and the building modifications, that allows you to go and discuss and provide a little more streamlined process through your local HJ. We know how to build it. We know what the code requires. So allowing that communication and discussing with them as early as possible allows that process to go a little faster and smoother.
And we actually have a group that does that directly around the country, working with the local jurisdiction, and we find that really improves the process and understanding up front instead of the trial and error of submittal. We actually are heading off potential issues and answering the questions ahead of the needs, which in a lot of cases can impact the schedule by several months of delays if you don't have those answers at the right time.
In your RFP, you mentioned you can provide the bus financing as an optional item. Can you share some basic idea about your approach to the optional bus financing?
So when we looked at what was in the RFP, the 10-year 0%, that's just commercially not possible. And so, we obviously have a licensed lending arm to Clean Energy that is more than happy to negotiate terms for the bus financing. Obviously, trying to find the best options and lowest cost options for JTA, but we could not agree to the 10-year 0% financing. But we're kind of understanding kind of how you were looking at it in terms of the how would you achieve the 10-year 0% financing? How is that derived? We might be able to come up with a solution that meets your objectives, but allows, we can't give money for 10 years without getting some kind of return on it. So.
I want to see if you can elaborate on your marketing plan for the public access station, and if you would describe your expansion plan. You indicated that right now you're going to plan for a minimum, basically, and then down the line if it needs to be expanded. Have you envisioned that as to how that expansion with the footprint and the site that you are choosing, how's that going to take place?
Well, I'll start with on the marketing side. So, I started with Clean Energy 12 years ago. I was the 34th employee of Clean Energy. And at that time, we had about 12 million gallons of fuel a year. This year, we're going to be very close to 300 million gallons of fuel a year, which when you look at the total natural gas used in transportation, that's pretty close to 50% of the entire market. Clean energy has not only grown by acquiring jobs, in terms of winning RFPs and bids, but also we've gone out and we proactively have built infrastructure in areas where we believe that we can market and grow the business. Jacksonville is an area where we have proactively gone out and built some infrastructure for the trucking industry on the highway. We also believe that there's a lot of fleet operations which are not over-the-road trucks that can utilize natural gas. My responsibility at the company is to grow our, more than 50% of my responsibility is to grow our same-store sales. We have existing owned assets throughout the country. In my area, we have about 70 public access fueling stations. Some that we've acquired from utilities and have upgraded. Some we've built on our own, and we've grown. We've worked to grow the volume there. As one example, with National Grid up in New York, we took over 13 stations from them in 2010. In 1 year, we increased the utilization of the stations by 50%. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that we had dedicated employees that focus on particular market segments. We found that over time, customers preferred to have somebody come in and talk to them that understood their business. So having somebody that is responsible for trucking, transit, refuse, and general fleet just isn't going to get very far. Where you have a dedicated sales team that focuses in on those particular markets, we can actually drive more volume to these stations. So we have, in the eastern United States, we have 18 sales employees that focus on CNG sales predominantly. We also have an additional 10 that focus on the trucking market. But the trucking market is not only LNG, but CNG. And so that, you're looking at, 28 employed salespeople that are going to go out trying to drive business to Jacksonville. And by saying that, I mean, there are a lot of fleets that integrate across the entire region. So if we're successful in selling a fleet up in New York that has operations down here in Jacksonville or in Florida, it also could drive volume to Jacksonville. So we look at a true team approach, and we've been extremely successful. The East Coast has grown about 25 to 35% a year over the last many years, and I thank my team for doing a heck of a job selling.
We have about 4 minutes.
So on the actual design of it, we will actually build out, we'll have all the underground trenching done, the canopy will be sized for it. Everything will be designed to go out to the larger facility. We're just not going to put in the main components. And we find this is a real good way to go. We keep customers, it's easy, they're able to get good traffic flow there. We give them a good fueling experience, high dedicated fuel. And as Mark said, this group grows, but even if we had 10 fleets out there right now that we could bring, we're probably anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half away from getting them vehicles. And that's us helping finance, et cetera. So you got to grow that. And it's foolish to have this big, massive station and 2 cars a day go. It's not cost effective to operate and maintain and take care of. And so we feel that it's better to grow it and stay on the new and efficient on, for example, even dispensers. If it's 2 years out, we put that dispenser in. 2 years down the road, that's a brand new dispenser 2 years from now.
Our College Park station in Atlanta has 2 dispensers, 4 hoses. That was the way it was originally designed. It's plumbed for another additional 2 dispensers. And we're getting to the point now, because Mark's guys have grown the fleet, we're getting to the point now where we're getting real close to the point where we're going to have to put in another 2 dispensers. That's just one example.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, the RFP indicated that the lead engineer would be Mr. Fairmont. Are you taking over that role, or
No, I'm actually involved in the front end part of the project of the initial design, layout of the operation, and that part of it. And then I coordinate with our complete engineering staff, and they will do the formal and final design and stamp the drawings.
Are there any more questions? You have about a minute.
I just have one last question. You talked about the part of the facility that would have a defueling section. But if our facilities are modified appropriately, would we really have to defuel a bus?
No.
Okay.
However, you do need a defueler every once in a while. If you have a tank damaged, for some reason, like running under a 12-foot bridge when the bus is 13 foot or whatever.
Oh, we don't do that.
But there are instances in which you will need to defuel a tank or something. Our defueler can take 6 tanks from 4,000 PSI down to less than 300 in 45 minutes. I just did it up in Nashville, so.
Major repairs, major
Right.
maintenance is why you would need to do that.
Exactly.
On general maintenance, it's not required.
If you needed to change the PRVs, the pressure release devices on the tanks, you'd have to defuel the bus, then change it, and then refuel it. So it's rare, but it happens.
Would you like to now move into the next portion, contract review?
Can I ask a question? Some of the earlier questions pertain to the term, the length of the term of the agreement. The RFP asked for a 15-year term. In your proposal, you're proposing a 10-year term for the entire operation. Would you be prepared to submit a price proposal for the full 15-year term?
Yes, our minimum would be 10.
Minimum 10.
15 is well within.
Just wanted that clarification.
We have some contracts that are 25 years.